You know, it's a crazy world we live in, and it looks like God did something amazing. 650,000 emails. I'm so glad I don't get emails. I don't send them. I don't get them. But can you imagine 650,000 of them? Well, let me tell you what it says in the Bible, and I think this is so pertinent for what we're seeing in our news right now. Proverbs chapter 11, verse 3 says this: "The integrity of the upright guides them, but the unfaithful are destroyed by their duplicity." We have seen duplicity on a massive scale in our president and the candidate for on the Democratic Party. We've seen a congressman. We've seen others. Duplicity. There have been lies and more lies. Well, the unfaithful are destroyed by their duplicity. And it looks like before it's finished, there'll be indictments and more indictments. But the Justice Department is fighting with the FBI right now. And as they say, it was the mother of all October surprises. The FBI bombshell announcement that it is reopening its investigation into Hillary Clinton's emails. Well, why? Well, they found Anthony Weiner, that sex-crazed, disgraced congressman, had on a server that they got 650,000 emails, many of them from his estranged wife, Huma Abedin, and who knows how many are from Hillary Clinton. And are these the missing thousands of emails that they couldn't find? Well, now the Clinton campaign is trying to contain the damage by criticizing FBI Director James Comey, who once they praised to the skies.
Well, the FBI has reportedly obtained a search warrant to review the thousands upon thousands of emails that could tie into the Clinton email investigation. Dale Hurd has the story.
Hillary Clinton was on the campaign trail trying to take the focus off herself and put it on the FBI.
Some of you may have heard about a letter that the FBI director sent out yesterday. It's pretty strange to put something like that out with such little information right before an election. In fact, it's not just strange, it's unprecedented, and it is deeply troubling.
The Wall Street Journal reports 650,000 emails were discovered on the laptop of disgraced former Congressman Anthony Weiner, the estranged husband of Clinton's top aide, Huma Abedin. Weiner is under criminal investigation for allegedly sexting a teen. And metadata on some of the emails suggests thousands of those messages could have been sent to or from the private server of Hillary Clinton. FBI Director James Comey says the emails should be looked at to figure out if they contain any classified information relevant to the Clinton email probe.
You know, we commend the FBI for reopening this case and having the courage to stand up for the principle. Because no one is above the law in the United States of America.
But Clinton campaign chair John Podesta on CNN was attacking FBI Director Comey.
To throw this in the middle of the campaign, 11 days out, just seemed to break with precedent and be inappropriate at this stage.
According to multiple sources, many agents at the FBI were upset with Comey's handling of the Clinton email investigation and his decision not to recommend charges against her. But no one knows how this latest revelation will ultimately affect her. Donald Trump called it the biggest scandal since Watergate.
We never thought we were going to say thank you to Anthony Weiner.
The reopened FBI investigation is sure to impact a race that has already tightened. The latest polls show Trump has made it a virtual dead heat. Dale Hurd, CBN News.
Well, Jay Sekulow of the American Center for Law and Justice is with us right now. Jay, the FBI can't indict anybody, can they? What's the procedure? It looks like the Justice Department is now fighting the FBI.
Yeah, so you've got an internal situation. I really think, Pat, we're in a very real way here. We're on the precipice of a constitutional crisis, partly created by former Secretary Clinton, partly created by the FBI and Director Comey for not following procedures. You know, they have these manuals for a reason. When you have a criminal investigation, what you do is you impanel a grand jury after you think you've got information significant to go to a grand jury, get subpoena power, put people under oath, don't allow them to destroy evidence, don't cut side deals that make no sense, and then don't put yourself in a situation where you close a file that you have to reopen 6 weeks later, which happens to be 10 days before an election for president. So this whole entire episode is symptomatic of a deeper problem, and that is Loretta Lynch and James Comey should have been out of this case, and the Deputy Director of the FBI, McCabe, should have been out of this. We have that whole backstory. They should have been out of this as soon as those conflicts became apparent. When Bill Clinton got on the plane of Loretta Lynch, that case was so tainted at that point that a special prosecutor should have been appointed, and that would have avoided this and would have made it a real prosecution if there was in fact going to be one, a real evaluation. But now you got the FBI trying to bring a case. You've got the Department of Justice trying to clamp it down. And like I said, we're 9 days out from an election, 8 days out from an election for president of the United States, and you're on the precipice of a constitutional crisis here, and people are losing faith with our government and our agencies.
Well, it's said a good prosecutor can indict a ham sandwich if he gets the grand jury, so there's nothing to that. But again, the FBI itself can't do the grand jury stuff. It's got to come out of the Justice Department. And the Justice Department
you're absolutely correct. And people need to remember this.
Yeah, go ahead.
The FBI cannot actually bring the case. That is the Department of Justice through the U.S. Attorney's Office.
Well, but Loretta Lynch is in the tank with Obama, and she's not going to bring anything. So what did Comey do? He was going against his boss. Is that the deal?
Well, he was going against his boss. He was going against internal precedent within the Department of Justice that says when you're this close to an election, you don't make these kind of announcements. I think he was trying to cover himself for testimony that he gave to Congress. Maybe it was incorrect. Maybe, now we're hearing reports that this information has been available for a couple of weeks, but it didn't get to James Comey until Thursday or Friday morning. Here's the reality of what should happen and what should have happened. But what should happen right now? Impanel the grand jury. They're there in Washington all the time. Get the subpoena power. None of this will, ask you some questions not under oath. Everybody under oath, get to the bottom of it. If they want to assert their Fifth Amendment privilege, they have the constitutional right to do that. That's fine. But that's the way you handle this. What's happening right now, I'm not giving James Comey. I know some people are saying, oh, James Comey, what a wonderful guy he is now. I'm not giving him that pass. He messed this up from the beginning by not doing it by the book, and that's the problem. And now he, in a sense, is paying the consequences, but the entire American people are paying the consequences as this charade of justice goes on before us, like I said, 9 days out from an election.
Well, the thing is, though, that you've now got a potential president, if she wins the presidency, who would be under indictment by a grand jury and possibly prosecuted for obstruction of justice, for perjury. What are the other things she's done? She's broken a whole bunch of laws, hasn't she?
Well, I mean, it goes back to the initial situation with everybody forgets about the server. The setting up of the private servers, which is keeping sensitive and confidential material in an unsecured device, is a violation of the law. But remember this also, if Hillary Clinton wins the presidency, President Obama has the authority as President of the United States to issue a blanket pardon for this. That could include her, could not include her, it could include her aides. So there's a lot of political things that can happen between the moment that we select a president, which is just a week and a day away, and the actual swearing in of that president. So a lot of moving parts here could happen. There's a lot of legal issues that can be resolved, actually. So you don't know how this is going to play out. Does the president say, I'm going to pardon her because this way I'm not going to let the presidency started with the taint? Remember, he's the recipient of some of those emails, so that's problematic too. He's the first witness you'd call.
Well, he said that he didn't know anything about it, what he read in the paper or heard on the news, on the television. He lied. I mean, they all lie, Jay. That's what makes you so sick at this bunch that's in power.
The whole system right now is, I mean, look, the confidence in it's like the IRS. The confidence that the American people have in our institutions right now is at the lowest ebb it's been at. And you know what? Self-induced by those institutions, those agencies. They have brought this upon themselves. The question is, are they institutionally capable of resurrecting, if you will, their reputations and following the rule of law? And Pat, honestly, I don't know at this point if they are. I think that what James Comey has done over the last 4 months is absurd. We all heard, remember, he issued that statement which sounded like he was going to recommend prosecution, then he didn't. By the way, that was unprecedented that you would do that before, but of course the Clinton people like that. Then he comes back and says, well, now I'm going to reopen it because there may well be material that's relevant to the previous investigation. Of course, now the Clinton people are not happy about that, and the Trump people are saying how great it is. Here's the reality. This is not how you do criminal cases in the United States of America. The FBI is unfortunately been really tarnished in this, and James Comey needs to go. So does Loretta Lynch.
Well, if Trump wins, it looks like this thing is shifting. Actually, it was already beginning to shift before this revelation came out. He was pulled up an 11-point lead, and they were tied. And so it looks like it's now shifting toward Trump. If Trump wins, what does he do? Let the investigation play out, or does he kill it? What would you do? What should he do?
Well, you know, here's what I think, and people aren't going to like the answer to this. If you look at what traditionally has happened in the United States of America, because we have the smooth transition of power, having an indictment come out of your defeated foe in a presidential election is generally not how it's done in America. Having said that, we're in uncharted and unprecedented territory here with regard to this. But you know what generally happens. I mean, generally they pardon. That's what happens. Yeah. Whether it's Gerald Ford doing with Nixon, I mean, this is just how it goes. Ending the national nightmare. Remember the line. You know it so well. Right. I mean, that's the kind of things that generally happen here.
Jay, you remember we were talking about this, that it had to be a miracle. It looks like for those who were looking for a different outcome, it seems to be a miracle. What do you think?
You know, and they're expecting, if you're on the Donald Trump team, I mean, they're expecting I guess everybody's expecting in the next 24 to 48 hours another WikiLeaks dump. Remember, this whole latest revelation looks like it had nothing to do with WikiLeaks. This was a server. By the way, let me say this in conclusion here, Pat. The FBI did a horrendous job of investigating. Mm-hmm. Did they go to Huma Abedin and not get these computer devices? I mean, how did that happen? And again, it's because they didn't do it by the book. So you're right. If you're in the Donald Trump camp, this is the October surprise of surprises. Of course, as you said to me over the weekend, you know, they're going to go after him pretty aggressively starting this weekend. They tried, but if they've got anything, they're going to unload it. Maybe they've already unloaded it and it's not enough. But this is going to make some interesting 8 days political. I'll leave the political prognosis to you. I'll handle the legal.
All right. Well, you're doing a very able job of that, Jay Sekulow. Ladies and gentlemen, I don't think any of us can remember anything like this before in American history. Maybe there's been something of this magnitude, but it's going to change the calculus. We'll get the polls pretty soon, but I think they're already starting to shift. Well, the latest revelations have changed the presidential race, and they've led to new challenges for both campaigns. At the top of the Trump lineup is a lady named Kellyanne Conway, his right-hand woman and campaign manager. CBN's Jenna Browder sat down with Conway last week for this exclusive interview.
Breaking news, Donald Trump makes the headlines. Some good, some bad.
Are you calling him a liar?
Well, we're taking his word for it.
Are you calling him a liar? And we're taking him.
And she is right by his side. Campaign manager Kellyanne Conway.
There's a corrupt rigged system, unfair to us, unfair to Mr. Trump, unfair to the campaign.
This is how most of America sees her, but Kellyanne is quick to point out these appearances only skim the surface of her responsibilities and who she is.
Tell us a little bit about your faith journey.
My faith journey started the day I was born, the day I was conceived, because I was born into a very religious family where God and faith and country and family, of course, were always most important to us. And I was raised by a single mom, and my father left when I was about 2 or 3. And my mom was one of 4 girls. She was the youngest of 4 sisters. And everything that we did, we always invoked God. We always said a blessing to each other, to those in need, hung our heads, got on our knees to pray.
How has this campaign tested your faith?
If my faith has been tested at all, it's been that he's really treated very unfairly. And I think that he is persecuted in a way that is incredibly unfair and out of proportion. The media suffers from a lack of portion control when it comes to negative slot being thrown toward Donald Trump. And that's unfortunate because I believe the voters deserve to have a free and open press, and I believe the voters expect and indeed merit a real conversation on the issues.
Kate McKinnon plays you on SNL.
Yes.
Do you have any tips for how she might improve her Kellyanne Conway?
She's got Kellyanne Conway down pretty well. I've had a bad hair life, not a bad hair day. It's not my greatest asset. That's okay. I've got other skills and gifts. So she does play that pretty well. And I thought that Kellyanne's Day Off was done pretty affectionately. I know it's supposed to be, you know, a zinger too, but it was done pretty affectionately and flatteringly. And I would just invite Kate McKinnon to come and visit our crazy household sometime so she could see for herself.
When she's not on the campaign trail, Conway and her husband are busy raising 4 kids, all under the age of 12. I ask her what it's really like working with all the Trumps.
The Trump family is just, they're just an amazing group of people. And they're an amazing family, so cohesive, so supportive of each other, and so very much the product of their father, and certainly their mothers, but so much the product of their father.
So come November 9th, no matter what happens with the election, what's next for you?
Oh, well, we're going to win. I will be honored if Donald J. Trump and Mike Pence ask me to help form their government, help form the next administration, and if I would feel called to serve in that capacity, of course.
For now, though, she has her hands full, guiding Team Trump as best she can to win the White House. Jenna Browder, CBN News.
Thanks, Jenna. And Kellyanne, they're moving now to Democratic territory, not only in the safe Republican states, but they're encroaching on Hillary Clinton's domain and trying to peel off some of those. And we just never can tell. We don't know what WikiLeaks is going to do, what next revelation might come out having to do with Hillary Clinton. But we do know that starting tomorrow, we've got 1 week to this momentous election. And I know one thing, and that is that every single evangelical in this country needs to vote. Every single person needs to vote. This is very important. And it's the most important election of our lifetime. I've seen a bunch of them, and I've been involved in a number of them. But this one is far and away the most significant, because the control of the Supreme Court is major. But that's just one of many things that's coming up. The Obamacare, the huge federal deficit, the deplorable state of our workforce, the lack of jobs. I mean, it is horrendous what's going to happen. Our country's in serious trouble, and we've got to have something happen this election. It's very, very important. So your vote is extremely important. Interesting, Terry. Huh?
What fascinating.
Yeah.
You know, one other thing we know for sure is if you think the weeks leading up to this have been intense, you ain't seen nothing yet.
Oh, yeah.
We've got a week
More's
to go.
on the way.
Yeah.